Thank you. I would like to welcome everyone to our March 21st, 2019 school board meeting. We have completed our executive session. Thank you for being patient with us. And would you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's turn to board recognitions.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, members of the board, if you will join me down front of the desk and we'll start the recognitions with Dr. Kevin Daniel.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Mr. Superintendent. We have some wonderful recognitions tonight. We're going to begin with our U.S. Navy JROTC National Orienteering Champions from Hillgrove High School. Hillgrove NJRTC won the National Orienteering Championship in California in February. Orienteering is a cross-country style competition in which the runners must locate predetermined controls or checkpoints over unfamiliar or rough terrains. The top 29 schools of nearly 600 NJROTC programs from across the nation qualified. This automatically qualifies this team for next year's championship, which will be in Washington, D.C. We also have right with us at the front, Hillgrove's Jacob Galascio, who won the male varsity individual national championship, and behind him, Jennifer Harnig, who won the female varsity individual national championship for the second year in a row. Congratulations to you. Please come forward. Be congratulated by the board. Right here.
Great job. Great job. Way to go. Way to go.
That's right.
Way to go. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Excellent job, young man.
Congratulations.
Excellent job.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Congratulations, sir. Good job.
I'll announce it. Hey, man. Good to see you. Congratulations, man. Great to see you.
Congratulations, sir. Chief? How you doing, sir? Traditional, just average old day, right?
We'll get rolling. As they line up for the picture, I'll tell you they are joined by Principal Angela Stewart, Athletic Director Sherry Thurman, Lieutenant Commander Honorowski, Chief Alan Harris, and CTAE Supervisor Jackie Brown. Pujanowski. Got it. Our next recognition is also from Hillgrove High School. It's Connor Powell for winning the Class 7A Wrestling 106-pound state championship. Connor finished the season with 50 wins. He was the county champ, the region champ, and the sectional champ. And he is the first wrestler in Hillgrove history to win the state championship as a freshman. Congratulations. He's here with Coach John Taffs and Blake Keith. Our next two recognitions are for the Class 7A Wrestling Champions, and they're from Lassiter High School. The Class 7A Wrestling 120-pound state champion is David Pannone. David had a 51-3 record, and he won the region and the sectional championship. Class 7A Wrestling 135-pound state champion is R.J. Weston. R.J. had a 53-2 record, and he is the Cobb County champion, the region champion, and the sectional champion. They invite him up along with Coach Matt Brickley and Principal Dr. Chris Ritchie, and also our Athletic Director, Scott Kelly. Let them come this one. Y'all stay up here. Let them go out the back. Our next 8 recognitions will consist of swimming and diving champions, and we're going to begin with Zach Franklin from Lassiter High School for winning the Class 7A 200-yard individual medley state championship. Zach won, finishing with an automatic All-American time of 1 minute, 48.33 seconds, a new school record for Lassiter High School. Congratulations. Come up here with Coach Brittany Hughes. Be congratulated by the board and the superintendent. Next, we're going to recognize Maddie Bragg of Pope High School for winning both the Class 6A 200-yard freestyle and the 100-yard butterfly state championship. Maddie is a 2-time state champion in the 200-yard freestyle and 100-yard butterfly. She accomplished the same feat last year, so these represent her 4th and her 5th state championships, including a relay team in 2018. Maddie also has the honor of being the school record holder in the 100-yard butterfly. Congratulations. She's coming up with head coach Zach Shearer and AD Josh Matthews. Congratulations. Our next recognition is for Addie Rose Bullock of Kennesaw Mountain High School for winning both the Class 7A 100-yard butterfly and the 100-yard backstroke state championships. Addie's winning time of 54.33 seconds for the 100-yard butterfly is fast enough for an automatic All-American status in the event. Her winning time of 54.98 seconds in the 100-yard backstroke is fast enough for consideration as an All-American in that event. These 2 titles this year give her 5 total state individual titles in her high school career. And in addition, she was also named First Team All-State. Congratulations to Addie Rose. We also have head coach, Coach Reason, and assistant principal, Alexi Boltman. Please come up. I just learned she was named the 7A Female State Champion of the Year for the state as well. Congratulations. Congratulations. Y'all stay up here. Yeah, y'all stay up here. Yeah. Yes, just to the side. Also from Kennesaw Mountain High School, we want to recognize Kyler Dixon for winning the 7A 1-meter diving state championship. Kyler is a freshman who won the 1-meter diving with a winning score of 542.20 points. That is 16 points higher than the runner-up. During this year, Kyler qualified for consideration as an All-American and was also named to the first team All-State. Please come forward to be recognized by the board and the superintendent. I have learned she's also the 7A Female Diver of the Year. That was a recent revelation as well. Very good. Congratulations. Good job. Our next recognition is Hannah Stump of Allatoona High School for winning the Class 6A State Diving Championship. Hannah, a freshman, won the Class 6A Diving Championship where she competed in 12 dives. She took first place overall for Classes 6A and 7A. In addition to her state championship, Hannah has set a new state record for female diving. Congratulations. She's here with Principal Candace Wilkes and Athletic Director Amy Howard. Also her coach, Jennifer Duro. Please come forward to be recognized by the board. Right out the back, right here. Congratulations. We next want to recognize Harrison High School's Class 6A Swim and Dive 200-yard freestyle relay state champions. The team members are Camden Batchick, Laura Kate Deckel, Cameron Lewis, and Emily Kelly. The women's 200 freestyle relay team became the first in Harrison's history to win a relay state championship. In winning the state title, they broke their own school record by 2 seconds. Congratulations. They're here with Principal Ashlyn Campbell and Coach Lisa Jacoby. Please come forward to be recognized by the board. Congratulations. Right off the bat. Good job. At this time, we recognize Deepen Mehta from Walton High School for being named the 2019 Gifted Teen of the Year by the Georgia Association of Gifted Children. The purpose of this award is to recognize a student currently between the ages of 13 to 17 who has demonstrated giftedness, dedication, creativity, and a desire to help others. He stood out among the others nominated teens across the state for a variety of reasons. In addition to his stellar academic record, he volunteers with VBA, a nationwide nonprofit organization dedicated to helping underprivileged children. He's established a programming club at Walton. He provides weekly computer skills training to elementary students at Powers Ferry. He developed an app called Stop Food Wastage, and he teaches a U.S. citizenship class. His teachers do note his enthusiasm for learning and his empathy for others. He exemplifies not only a distinguished gifted teen, but a distinguished member of the Cobb County community. Congratulations. You're going to have Principal Dr. Catherine Milanda with you and Supervisor Sarah Kessel also. Please come forward to be recognized. Our next recognition is for a graduate. It's Taylor Baxley, a 2018 Kennesaw Mountain High School graduate. While a senior at the school last year, she entered and won the 2018 Georgia Farm Bureau High School Art Contest. The Georgia Farm Bureau High School Art Contest is open to all students in grades 9 through 12 in the state of Georgia. Artwork submitted is judged on artistic merit as well as agricultural representation in either the county or the state of Georgia. She won first place, and as a result, her artwork is on the cover of this calendar. This is the first time we've had a winner from Cobb County with this, so congratulations. She's here with her teacher, Lauren Davis, our arts supervisor, Laura LaQualia. We also have assistant principal Lexi Boltman, and our instruction and innovative practice director, and that's Dr. Felicia Angel. Please come forward to be recognized by the board. You can see her artwork on the screen. I will say that as we go. Congratulations. Next, we want to recognize Joan Weatherford, a visual art teacher at Dodgen Middle School, for being named the 2019 Outstanding National Junior Art Honor Society sponsor by the National Art Education Association. This prestigious award, determined through the peer reviews of nominations, recognizes the dedication of one of its members who sponsors an outstanding National Junior Art Honor Society chapter. The award was presented to her last week at the NAEA National Convention in Boston. Please come forward along with Principal Dr. Laura Lee Hill, be recognized by the board and the superintendent. Congratulations. Now we want to recognize National Youth Art Month, National Theater in Our Schools Month, and National Music in Our Schools Month. These programs emphasize the value of art, theater, and music education for all of our students, and it encourages support of quality programs. The district would like to thank all of our staff who enhance our children's education through the fine arts, and we'd like to ask these people to please come forward. Our supervisor for choral music, theater, and dance, that's Dr. Joseph Woodruff. We also want the supervisor from learning arts and visual design, that's Laura LaQualia. And we want the Director of Instruction and Innovative Practice, Dr. Felicia Angel. Please come forward to be recognized by the board and the superintendent. Congratulations. Very good. You coming back? You can stand if you want to over here. Our next recognition is the 2019 Georgia Music Educators Association Program of the Year, and it is awarded to Hightower Trail Middle School Music Program. The Hightower Trail Music Program is an exemplary music program in all departments. With numerous recognitions at both the state and the national level, the combined talents of the department directors of this program truly make it outstanding and worthy of this special recognition from the state. We're going to be joined by band directors, Mr. Andrew Cole, band director Fred Norton, orchestra director Michael Tompkins, orchestra director Paul O'Keefe, choral director Suzanne Logue, and the principal, Miss Laura Montgomery. Please come forward to be recognized by the board and the superintendent. Congratulations, good job. Thank you. Next, we want to recognize Heather Anderson, who has been named the Cobb County School District School Social Worker of the Year. Heather Anderson was selected as the School Social Worker of the Year for the Cobb County School District by her peers. Ms. Anderson serves Clay, Riverside Primary, and Riverside Intermediate. Her passion for serving our students is unmeasurable. She is always striving to influence the lives of the students in order to promote their academic success. Ms. Anderson has been a social worker with us for 16 years and serves on the board for the School Social Workers Association of Georgia at the district level. Please come forward along with, you have several people here. Primary School Principal Doris Billups McClure, and that's at Riverside. Clay Elementary School Principal Miss Cynthia Winter. Clay Elementary Assistant Principal Kevin O'Meara, and the Supervisor for the Social Workers, Anna Murphy. I'm going to get Heather and Anna to remain at the front of the room. While I announce the next one, we're happy to announce that School Social Worker Week was March the 4th through the 10th. And as you may have already heard, we have a lot of social workers in this room. We want to express our deepest gratitude and respect to the men and women who do this job, who perform this challenging task and this critical role in our schools. So if you're a social worker, would you please come forward to be recognized by the board and the superintendent at this time? Go for the picture.
You'd be surprised.
Good or not?
Thank you very much. Mr. Chair, this concludes our recognitions for this evening. Thank you.
Let's reconvene here. Thank you, and let's move on to public comments. Mr. Doyle?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe we have 14 speakers, so we have a full list. How much time can we allot, Mr. Chair?
2 minutes is going to take us straight to 28. That's what we can do tonight. I wish we had more, but 2 minutes for each.
Okay, and we'll try to, I'll try to remember to give everyone a heads up when you're the next in line, and please come up as soon as the speaker before you has finished, because I understand they'll start the clock pretty soon, so we want you to get your full 2 minutes in. Our first speaker is Mackenzie Young, who will talk about Pebblebrook High School, and please come forward, and she'll be followed by Michelle Gwynn.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I did the same thing.
Okay, do I start?
Go ahead, Mackenzie.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Mackenzie Young, and I am an 11th grade student attending Pebblebrook High School. And at this time, I would like to state my opinion on our SPLOST proposal. The current SPLOST proposal for Pebblebrook High School does not go far enough. Our lunches are too overcrowded. I run to lunch to get to the front of the line, so I have enough time to eat. If I don't get there early enough, I'll end up with 5 minutes or not enough time to eat. I've seen students still in line at the end of lunch. I've seen students, including myself, carrying full lunches out of the cafeteria, eating and walking in class. If I'm not finished with lunch by the time I get to class, I have to throw it away, and I end up hungry for the rest of the day. With that said, we would like to thank David Morgan and Jaha Howard for hosting our SPLOST Town Hall. To Nick Parker and John Adams, although you declined our initial invitation, we would like to once again invite you again to join us this Monday at 6:15 p.m. at Pebblebrook. We need you, and we are worth the investment. That's it.
Our next speaker is Michelle Gwynn, and she'll speak about SPLOST proposal for Pebblebrook High School, followed by Morgan Young.
Hello, I'm a junior at Pebblebrook High School, and I would just like to say that our SPLOST proposal just doesn't go far enough. I'm almost always late to class every single day because there are just too many kids walking in the hallway and not enough exits. I have to plan, compromise, and adjust different walking routes just to get to class remotely on time. Not only that, but I avoid staircases because it can get very overcrowded and aggressive, and it makes me feel uncomfortable and unsafe. And then when it rains, I even have to remember not to go under the covered walkways because it's a complete frenzy. And no matter what you do, you're going to get wet regardless because we have leaks and gaps in our walkways. Not to mention that, or the best part is, to top it off, we have large mud puddles that form at the end of each walkway. The bottom of our walkways due to landscaping. So I'd rather just walk in the direct rain, whether it's cold or hot or anything really. So to wrap it up, we would like to thank David Morgan and Jaha Howard for hosting our SPLOST Town Hall. To Nick Parker and John Adams, although you declined our initial invitation, we would like to once again invite you to join us this Monday at Pebblebrook High School at 6:15 because we need you and we are worth your investment. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Morgan Young, who will discuss SPLOST proposal for Pebblebrook High School, followed by Sergio Banuelos.
Hello, I'm Morgan Young. I'm a 10th grader at Pebblebrook High School. Our current SPLOST proposal does not go far enough. We don't have enough bathrooms. Our bathrooms are filthy, and by the middle of the day, because so many students are using the bathrooms, they're really dirty because there are only a few bathrooms in our school. I have to stand in long lines just to use the restroom, which makes me late to class. When I'm in a trailer, I have to rush across campus to get to a bathroom that is usually full when I get there. We would like to thank David Morgan and Jaha Howard for hosting our SPLOST Town Hall. To Nick Parker and John Adams, although you declined our initial invitation, we would like to invite you again to join us Monday at 6:15 at Pebblebrook. We need you, and we are worth your investment. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Sergio Banuelos, who will discuss SPLOST proposal for Pebblebrook High School, and he'll be followed by Anna Clay.
Good evening. My name is Sergio Banuelos. I am a student from Pebblebrook High School. I would like to start off by saying that the current SPLOST proposal for Pembroke High School can go a lot farther. My main concern is that anyone can walk on our campus at any time. There's nothing really to keep them out. And something that is an example is last year we had an incident where our campus was vandalized after hours. There was profane phrases, profanity and vulgar language on our buildings, walls, and grounds. This is the first time I felt really unsafe at school. This makes me wonder, could Pembroke High School even stand a chance at any potential dangers? Because our daily basis is chaotic. Finally, I would like to thank David Morgan and Jaha Howard for hosting our SPLOST Town Hall. To Nick Parker and John Adams, although you declined our initial invitation, we would like to once again invite you to join us this Monday at 6:15 p.m. at Pembroke. We need you, and we are worth the investment. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Anna Clay, who will discuss Pebblebrook SPLOST projects and future needs, and she'll be followed by Kara Harris.
All right, good evening. I may look like a student, but I'm a teacher at Pebblebrook High School. During this School Board Appreciation Week, I just want to thank all of you here this evening, especially David Morgan and Jaha Howard for hosting this SPLOST Town Hall that we have at Pebblebrook on Monday. We appreciate your time. We'd also like to once again extend our invitation to Nick Parker and John Adams to attend this town hall because we think it's important to work with the county officials on a regular basis. I want to emphasize some of the points made by our students this evening. Our lunchroom has not grown with our student body. We need a lunchroom that is made for a school our size, and we have ideas for how to make that happen. There are not enough entrances and exits to allow a smooth transition between classes. None of the buildings are connected, so students have to go outside. They have to go outside between every class. The current SPLOST proposal includes at least one connection between buildings, but we need connections between as many buildings as possible, and we need to eliminate the need to go outside in between classes. Our campus is too open. Anyone can walk onto the campus at any time, and they do. We've been fortunate so far that none of these individuals have been intent on causing real harm, but the campus layout would not prevent them from doing so if they really wanted to. We need a wrought iron fence all the way around the campus, and we need a single entrance and exit for visitors to check in. No one should be able to walk onto campus and interact with students without going through the main office first. To summarize, we are overcrowded. We currently have 600 extra students. After the current SPLOST projects are complete, our school will have a building capacity of approximately 2,500 students. This is not enough. We are already over 2,400 students, and we are not shrinking. According to the county's own numbers, we will already be overcrowded again by the time these SPLOST projects are finished. We are grateful for the projects which are coming to Pebblebrook, and I hope my statement doesn't downplay our gratitude, but these projects are just playing catch-up. We need more, and our students are worth the investment. Thank you for your time tonight, and thank you for all that you do for our students across Cobb County.
Our next speaker is Kara Harris, who will discuss Pebblebrook SPLOST project and future needs, and she'll be followed by Gregory George.
Good evening. My name is Kara Harris, and I'm a Mableton resident, a parent of a Cobb County High School student, and a teacher at Pebblebrook High School. Thank you for allowing me to share my thoughts with you tonight. We are really excited about the improvements that are planned through the SPLOST projects, but we are worried that this construction does not account for some of the issues at our school, and we would like to offer some solutions. Right now, we are over capacity, as Anna Clay said, by 600 plus students. And as you can imagine, we're bursting at the seams. The new construction will add a net growth of 32 new classrooms in order to remove trailers that are currently on campus and to relieve teachers from having to move from classroom to classroom to classroom between each period. I am concerned with the increased congestion that will occur on the east side of our campus during class changes now, during and after construction will create a safety hazard. I believe we need more connections between buildings as soon as possible. For example, a skywalk between the second floor of the Jackson building to the main building would help. And I would also like to be aware of how the Jackson building, our new gym, and the new academic buildings will connect for student movement. Another concern I have is the openness of our campus. Anyone can, and people have, walked onto campus during the school day. We've already seen the county's responsiveness to some of our requests. We asked for a lockable gate on the east side of the campus, and we received it earlier this year. However, the other side of the campus is extremely open, and having our whole campus enclosed by a limited having our whole campus enclosed with limited access will help keep our students safe. And staff and students maybe could have key card access or coded access to the gates. At 6:15 on Monday, we are having a SPLOS Town Hall that is kindly hosted by David Morgan and Jaha Howard, and we thank you for coming to our school. We would like to have Nick Parker. And I'm done. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Gregory George, who will discuss Pebblebrook SPLOST, followed by Doc Holliday.
My name is Gregory George. I am both a parent and a teacher at Pebblebrook High School. I would like to start by saying thank you to David Morgan and Jaha Howard for hosting the Pebblebrook SPLOST Town Hall on Monday, March 25th at 6:15 p.m. I would also like to say I appreciate the efforts of all school board members to make their efforts to make the Cobb County schools better. With that in mind, Pebblebrook needs your help. We are in many ways wildly congested and in all areas extremely unsafe. Even with the proposed improvements, these truths remain. Rather than rehash what has already been stated, I wanted to take the opportunity to invite John Adams, Nick Parker, and even Superintendent Chris Ragsdale out to the SPLOS Town Hall at Pebblebrook. I won't sugarcoat the reception you may receive. Historically, there have been strained relationships between Pebblebrook and the county office when it comes to SPLOS funds. But I urge you to reconsider and come out to an event and show your support for our concerns. Consider the option of not coming. What message does that send to Pebblebrook students, parents, and staff? What message does that send to Brad Willer, who used to be a coach, a teacher, and an administrator at Pebblebrook? It does nothing to push our relationship in a positive direction. It does nothing to foster trust, but what it does is it allows your naysayers the opportunity to control your message, the opportunity to say, see, they don't care what's going on at Pebblebrook. They never have. We want you to hear our story. We want to open lines of communication so that you can make an informed decision about the urgency of issues that exist on our campus. No one here is naive. We know that spending more money at Pebblebrook may ruffle feathers throughout the county. After all, there's only so much money to go around, but we remain exceptionally vulnerable and unsafe in so many areas that doing nothing could prove catastrophic and ultimately far more costly. We're getting organized at Pebblebrook. We're getting organized on the south side of the county. We want to build a substantive, trustworthy relationship with the county.
Time.
We ask you to join us on Monday, March 25th at 6:15 p.m. to start the process. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Doc Holliday, who will discuss closing the achievement gap, and he will be followed by Henry Taylor.
Good evening. I have successfully worked in Cobb County schools and in universities for close to 30 years and have seen great academic achievement during that span. However, the current Cobb County School District Central Office Strategic Planning Department has been short-sighted, narrow-minded, and inconsistent when discerning eyes closely evaluate local school culture and recent results of at-risk schools. They have not been very effective, which has resulted in an unacceptable number of Cobb County school students being listed as barely meeting minimum academic expectations. Negative trends are apparent after reviewing the 2017-2018 Cobb County School District Georgia milestone data. The data clearly illustrates that far too many elementary, middle, and high schools in the South, West, and northern parts of Cobb County are trending downward. We can and must do better. Property values, economic development, and the overall quality of life are negatively impacted when deficient schools become the norm. We do not have to look any further than the DeKalb County public school system for a glance at our impending future if we do not act immediately. Just review their history over the past 25
30
years.
seconds.
They stopped providing a quality education for every student. The Cobb County School District must move with a sense of urgency because the tipping point is closer than we may realize. Thank you for your kind attention and best of luck.
Our next speaker is Henry Taylor, who will discuss SPLOS planning for Campbell High School and South Cobb area schools. And he'll be followed by Lindsay Osteryoung.
Good evening. I am Henry Taylor. I am a proud parent of 2 Campbell High School students, also the co-chair of the Campbell High School Council. My wife is also an officer for the PTSA there. We have been in the county for 7 years, and our children have been in Cobb County Public Schools that entire time. It's generally been a very pleasurable experience. However, at Campbell, there are certainly significant concerns, and unfortunately, during the SPLOST Town Hall meeting that we had on March 6th, those concerns were not allayed. Instead, they intensified. The plain and simple reality is the enrollment projections that were shared that evening to justify the cap of 3,000 students seemed clearly not accurate, and now there appears to be information that that would call into question the integrity of those numbers. That raises very serious concerns for us, one in wanting to trust the process of SPLOS planning, which unfortunately feels a lot more top-down than bottom-up, and additionally question the integrity of those representing those numbers. Ultimately, we clearly believe that not only will Campbell High School, which is currently the largest high school in the county, will continue to grow, but in fact may come August be at 3,000 students or very close to it. We certainly believe that we would like to have an independent enrollment projection that can be trusted, because the appearance of impropriety is something that we should all be concerned about. Ultimately, it's important that the community embrace the plans, not that everyone has to be happy with every single aspect, but given the amounts of money that we're spending, it's important to ensure that the community embraces this because the needs of our schools are truly met. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Lindsay Osteryoung, who will discuss the school choice process, and she'll be followed by Ariel Osteryoung.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lindsay Osteryoung. 2 of my daughters will be in the Cobb County School District for the 2019-2020 school year. My oldest daughter, who is entering 6th grade, is here with me tonight and will be speaking after me. I've handed out information packets to describe in further detail of what I'm speaking on tonight. I applied both daughters to the school choice transfer program. My younger daughter was accepted into Davis Elementary School, and my oldest daughter was denied into Mabry Middle School. There is no option for siblings at different grade levels to have a priority in the acceptance process. A question presented, why is there not an option to select you have siblings applying for a school choice transfer regardless of grade level? Davis Elementary and Mabry Middle School are in the same feeder pattern for Lassiter High School. It is important to keep all siblings in the same feeder pattern, especially when parent transportation is a necessity. There is also the issue of my oldest daughter being zoned to attend J.J. Daniel Middle School. I have attached documents to support the issues related to this school. There is bullying, fighting drugs, and off-putting student-teacher behavior. She is a well-behaved, straight-A student and should not be subjected to the atmosphere of this middle school. She also has friends from Blackwell that have told her information about J.J. Daniel that have reflected the problems in this school. J.J. Daniel is even mentioned in the Urban Dictionary with profane information. My older daughter is here with me tonight, and she will be speaking after me. She feels left out, rejected, while her sister is being accepted and she's being denied. This is a serious question and one I feel should be addressed in the Cobb County School Transfer Choice Program. I sincerely appreciate my requests and concerns to be highly considered for approval. Thank you very much. Please provide a written response within 30 days. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ariel Osteryoung, who will discuss the school choice process, and she'll be followed by Donna Robinson.
Hello, my name is Ariel Osteryoung, and I'm here with my mother who just spoke before me. I have come here today to help my case with me going to Mabry Middle School and not J.J. Daniel. I am currently a fifth grader at Blackwell Elementary. My sister has been accepted to Davis Elementary, and I, on the other hand, have been denied in the school choice process. It doesn't make sense to have one sister in a different feeder pattern than the other. J.J. Daniel Middle School does not have great reviews and is currently the worst middle school in the Cobb district. My closest friend goes there and says that people get bullied every day, fights break out all over the place, drugs are used there, and students seem to rule over all the teachers. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate you listening to all my thoughts.
Our next speaker is Donna Robinson, who will discuss Pebblebrook High School. She'll be followed by Jennifer Susko.
Hi, I'm Donna Robinson. Thank you all for having me and giving me this time. I just want to say that I'm a parent, I'm a homeowner, been in Cobb County, the same house for 26 years. Together, me and my husband have 7 children. They've attended Bryant, Lindley, and Pebblebrook. I still have one left at Pebblebrook. She's 16. She's right over there. One of them already graduated. She'll be graduating from college in May. Thank goodness for that. We've seen the growth of our area. I mean, seen it, and the projections are there. You all have on your website the projections that Pebblebrook's cap should be 1812. We currently have 22,490 students. And on your site, you project that by 2024, it'll be 2,840 students. Knowing that what we talked about the trailers, that those trailers are not going to go away and there's no bathrooms in there, okay? That's something to think about. We said, you have on your wall one team, one goal, student success. How do we make this happen with overcrowding of these classrooms? How do we make this happen when the kids can't even eat their food because of the time frame it takes for them to get in the line and get back to a table so they can sit down and eat a decent meal? How do we do this if we can't put a covering over them so that they're not rained on? How do we do this if we don't have the safety and security for them because the buildings aren't connected and anybody can go onto the campus? You just drive over there. Look, thank you, David Morgan. Thank you, Jaha Howard, for hosting the event that we're going to have at our school at 6:15 on Monday. And we invite all of you all to come. Because why? Make that not just some words on the wall. Make it a reality that we are one team, one goal for student success.
Our next speaker is Jennifer Susko, and she'll discuss children's literature. She'll be followed by Earl Johnson.
Y'all know I'm a school counselor in Cobb County. I recently learned of research on racism in Dr. Seuss's children's books and have provided you each a copy of the latest study. Prior to learning, I, like many educators, engaged in Seuss-related activities during Read Across America Week. But now, educators in schools across the country are rightly moving away from Seuss to make space for stories that reflect and humanize all students. The NEA founded the Read Across America initiative over 20 years ago on Seuss's birthday and centered celebrations around him every year until it was brought to their attention that there are harmful stereotypes in the books. Then, even though their whole event was built on Seuss, they changed so they could be inclusive of children of color and girls. Cobb often boasts about diversity in our district. Indeed, 62% of our students are students of color. It's important that we don't just promote how diverse our county is without providing the children who create that beautiful diversity with an education which honors their backgrounds and ethnicities, instead of one involving literature which degrades and dehumanizes them. Findings from the study include 98% of the characters in Dr. Seuss's books are white. There are 0 women or girls of color. All the males of color are depicted as stereotypes and caricatures. So when the district centers and celebrates Seuss, there are racial implications not only in the messaging kids receive around race, based on how it's depicted in the books and who is invisible, but also because of Seuss's extensive personal history with racism. NEA President Lily Garcia said this about their decision to move away from Seuss. It's critical that students see themselves represented in popular culture. During this year's Read Across America, our theme is celebrating a nation of diverse readers, and we are emphasizing emphasizing the importance of books that are telling children of color that they belong in the world and the world belongs to them. It can be a scary place out there for our students, but a book can transport them to a world that is safe, a world where they belong, and a world in which they believe they can make a difference. Cobb's emphasis on innovation supports flexibility in keeping up with changes in education. Please demonstrate this by changing the focus of the March Literacy event to what Read Across America itself now emphasizes, which is diversity in children's literature. And per policy, please provide me a written response within 30 days. Thank you.
Our final speaker, Mr. Chair, will be Earl Johnson, who will discuss Osborne High School.
Good evening. My name is Earl Johnson. I've been in Cobb County for 28 years. I've had the same house. I volunteered at Osborne before I had kids, and now I have kids in the school. We just want to know things that make sure that you guys understand we're still there. If you can see the comments tonight, it seems like everybody from the South Side has a little problem, but it's not. We just want to make it an equal feel for the kids to go to school and do the best they can and make it an environment where everybody can do what they do. I don't ask you to give me what everybody else, but just make the level field of playing, and we can do from there. It's just a matter of giving every kid a chance, and that's all we ask. When you're considering not to put the academy on Osborne, you're only hurting us, because all that do is take kids and make everybody want to go other schools. That's why they're so crowded. They're crowded like that because everybody's going away, but if you make Osborne balanced like everybody else, you can balance out your schools where everybody's not crowded and packed into one school and the South Side, and everybody's proud to send their kids. I have no problem with Osborne. I have a kid there. He's an honor student, but I got to make sure he's doing what he's supposed to, and I need to make sure the playing field's level so he get a chance to do the best he can. That's all I ask for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you all public speakers tonight. I guess we go on now. Our next item of business is the budget again. Mr. Johnson coming back up. Does anybody have any further questions on that?
Yeah, let me start it off again. I'll ask Mr. Johnson, CFO, to go ahead and start making his way up. And just for the benefit, since we have carried it over, I do want to reiterate my comments from earlier. And two things. One, the focus of this year's budget is going to be on two things: increasing the allotment pool and maximizing the employee raise for every employee. That being said, I also want to cover one other thing, and that is that I'm not going to be recommending a bonus this year for either the 240 employees, which we had additional days off this year during the July 4th week, but less than 240-day employees got a 1.1% bonus in December. So a couple of reasons for that. One, I have taken input from teachers, and they do recognize the fact that a bonus does not go toward TRS. And so the employees do recognize that while they do appreciate the bonus, and we got a lot of positive comments from that, it's my belief and it's my effort to maximize the raise such that the TRS benefit will be as maximized as we possibly can for every employee that's within TRS. And the other reminder is that the first year we did a bonus was because we actually couldn't afford to do a raise. So now that we are in a different era, and as we got information during the work session from Ms. Charisse and Clem, that the data about what the raise is actually going to be is actually changing on a daily basis. The last day of the session is April the 2nd, which is a couple of weeks. So hopefully we'll have some more concrete numbers to provide in April's board meeting, because I will be presenting the balanced budget to the board during that meeting. And again, while we're not going to get into numbers tonight because we don't have them finalized and we don't have finalized numbers to address, I did want to address those two things about, number one, the bonus and the reasoning behind that, and also the two focuses on this year's budget. So I believe that everyone recalls the presentation from Mr. Johnson, and we'll just continue the discussion of question and answers as the board wills.
Any further questions from anybody? Go ahead.
Brad, can you speak to the senior tax exemption and what the percentage might be, your best guess of how much it's growing year to year?
Age 62 and older exemption, my recollection says that several years ago it was 79, and then it grew to 90, and then it grew to 100, and then it grew to 111. So there is a growth, but it seems like there would be a ceiling at some point. I'm not quite sure how to project that. We'll do our best. We are having a meeting with the tax assessor next week, actually, on Thursday, I believe, where they give us estimates on the property tax digest. And in that, maybe they can give us some information about what they think it might be for this year, because I would like to get as much information as I can when we present to you all at the April 21st meeting, when we roll out the whole budget. And just so y'all know too, this afternoon, the budget presentation was meant to be an introductory thing. When we come back in April and present the budget, it'll be a full-blown meeting. For those of you who have been here before as prior board members, the budget contains a lot of information. We will have notebooks for you. We will show you every estimate that we did. We can back up every number. We will have a variety of reports. We'll probably come to you with a general overview of what we think the budget is going to be as far as revenue projections and expenditure projections. It's the superintendent's budget. We will present the priorities as the superintendent has instructed us to do. And then, of course, once we present the tentative budget, it's then the board's turn to take a look at it. And, of course, y'all are the ones who finally approve it. And it's scheduled, well, actually, it's scheduled for tentative approval in late April, and then a final approval in late May.
Let me add something to that, because I'm glad you said that, Brad. Just a reminder, because again, we forget what we forget, right, with two new board members, and I apologize for that. But the tentative budget approval is just so that it can be advertised. That in no way, shape, or form makes it a static budget at that point in time. So when he says tentative approval in April, it's a formality so that we can actually advertise it publicly. Just FYI.
Go ahead, Joe.
All right. Thank you, Brad. I appreciate the presentation earlier today. I really appreciate those, the numbers. It's interesting to kind of see how we get the figures that we get. But I think it's telling. You told a pretty simple, straightforward story about the loss that we have in revenue from exemptions. I think I saw the number of $146 million. That's correct. And 112 of that coming from the senior exemption. And I'm just wondering, man, and maybe superintendent can speak to this, like how we told this story, just so folks in Cobb County are aware of how much money is not coming to our schools due to the senior tax exemption. Not to argue in the fight and the fuss, but I understand this gets very political, but I think information is important. And I don't think the average person knows that literally every year, $112 million is not coming into the school system here in Cobb County because of an exemption. And an exemption that we thought years ago was probably be maybe 50, 60, 70 million, now is ballooned to 112. Can we just speak to that and how we position ourselves publicly?
Yeah, I appreciate you throwing me right under the bus. I'm just kidding, Exactly, yeah. So, to answer your question real simply, yes. Every time I speak in public, I always make that part of my presentation. To your point, not to say, you know, hey, we want to change it, we want to do away with it, or whatever. It's just a point of education, and the reason for that is, as we got into legislative priorities. And you may have been present. I know you weren't sworn in at that point in time, but I always make a definite point to say, yes, this is a point of education, and this is why we are so focused every single year on putting a cap on local fair share. You know, it's called local fair share, but it's anything but fair, because we, as being the second largest district in the state, our local fair share, well, that somebody read my mind. There's the slide. Is over $155 million. So if we were able to get a cap on that, or simply make it more fair, and by more fair I mean we are actually being double taxed, if you will, because we're being deducted the local 5 mil share as if we receive all of the exemption money. So that's $146 million we're not receiving because of exemptions, but the state is withholding the equivalent as if we are receiving that $146 million. So what I mean by it's not very fair is instead of 5 mils, we're actually being withheld 6.5 mils. That's an additional $28 million, give or take. Now, it's not hard math, right? A 1% pay raise for every employee is $9 million. 93,000 is the dollar amount we use for allotments, for a teacher allotment. So $28 million, while, you know, we're not winning the lottery by any stretch of the imagination, it would go a long way in our budget process. So we put a lot of thought and effort and intent into our legislative priorities, and that's the reason, because you know, we understand that the 62 and over exemption is there. It's a benefit for our constituents in Cobb County. At the same time, to your point, we have to make sure that all of the community members are educated, because so goes the school district, so goes the economic development in the county. And we have, you know, I say it all the time, we have the best school district in the nation. It's better in Cobb. It's better in Cobb for a reason, but we all have got to be on the same team. So when we talk about budget numbers, and you know, it's real easy to get lost in all the zeros, to be quite honest, because you know, when I first came to the district, we were not close to $1 billion budget. We were far under it. Now we're over a $1.2 billion annual budget. So that being said, every little bit matters. So if we can get the legislature to act, the Cobb delegation to, you know, help us in that endeavor, that would go a long way. Now, it's not going to solve the problem by any stretch of the imagination, but at the same time, again, $28 million is $28 million. So I appreciate you bringing that up and drawing attention to that fact and asking the question, are we, you know, doing our part to educate? And I think it's incumbent upon us all. You know, that, and I actually address this in leadership meetings with all of our principals, that, you know, when you have opportunities with parents and citizens, young and old, to just do an educational kind of conversation to make sure that everybody does know, number one, what a benefit it is if you're over 62, that no other surrounding county has this type of exemption. You know, yes, it is an issue somewhat, because where most other counties have a sliding scale, if you will, because the intent is, as you get older, your income possibly decreases, and it's just not right that you continue to keep paying the same taxes as everybody else is. But one of the big issues with the exemption in Cobb is, and I don't know if the CEO of Coca-Cola lives in Cobb. He may move, or she may move after they hear me say this, but you can be the CEO of Coca-Cola and make $100 million a year, live in Cobb County, and be over 62 and pay no school tax. That just doesn't seem right. by any stretch of the imagination.
And that's why I'm just bringing it up, just in public forum like this, because maybe it's time to just maybe put something in writing, not in any kind of confrontational way, but just for informational purposes, for all those that agree that we want our schools to do better. We have an increasing special needs population. We have an increasing healthcare needs. We know what's going on. We know it's harder and harder to retain good teachers. It's a national epidemic. We have a good case to make, and I don't think the public sees that side of it. It's very one-sided. It gets very political and things that help people win elections. And I think our kids lose. You know, grown-ups are fighting and arguing about things, and our kids are losing. And I think it's important for us as a board and as a leadership team to just maybe be more proactive and intentional about having something down on paper and engaging the public. Again, not in a confrontational way, but in an educational way to hopefully we can shape the argument.
Also to go along with that point is the importance of SPLOST. Because while we do recognize the exemption, the challenges we see from it and realize from it, without SPLOST, it would be that much more hypersensitive, if you will, to that. Because, again, you know, what could we do with $110 million? Well, plenty, but we understand that exemption is there. We're not saying let's change it, let's get rid of it. But the citizens of Cobb need to understand the benefit from a great school district like we have in Cobb, and the benefits that we need to have for our employees, students, and community members as they come into our facilities and our schools. Appreciate you bringing it up.
We certainly would not be the first school district to consider changes to our exemption. Right now, I know it's a small district, the city of Decatur is looking at it, but Forsyth County has made changes that had to go up for a vote to the county. And they looked at it and realized that there were people taking advantage of it. And so from that, they were able to recoup $500,000 for Cobb County. Who knows what it would be, but there are certainly entities that are studying this and that can study it. And I just encourage us as a body to discuss it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Then next we have items requiring action following executive session. Mr. Ragsdale?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, members of the board, I'm going to ask Mr. John Adams to bring all those items. And just a reminder that we will have one motion and vote for actions in executive session and then another separate motion for land purchase.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Mr. Chair, members of the board, it's my pleasure to bring you the Human Resources Personnel Report for today, March 21st, 2019. The administration recommends the approval of the identified employment actions of those individuals listed on the Personnel Action Report as discussed in executive session. Tonight we have 5 principal level and higher position recommendations. David Baker, recommended for appointment to Director, Financial Planning and Analysis, Financial Services Division, effective March 22nd. Keely Bowen, appointment to Director, Leadership Management and Evaluations, Human Resources Division, effective June 1. Catherine Brown, appointment to Director, Local School Accounting and Internal Compliance, Financial Services, effective March 22nd. Dr. Kevin Carpenter, appointment to Principal, Cheatham Hill Elementary School, effective June 1. And Paige Smith, appointment to Director, Payroll Financial Services Division, effective June 1. This concludes the personnel report.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. I have a motion. Mr. Scamahorn?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that we accept the recommendations as read by Mr. Adams.
Thank you. Second, Mr. Howard. Any discussion? Without objection, item passes. Okay, next one.
Mr. Chair, am I recognized?
Yeah.
I'm me. Thank you, Mr. Chair. To the board, I'd like to make a motion. I hereby move that the board approve the following real estate contract. Purchase of real property and improvements on approximately 1.7 acres, including a 45,787 square foot office and warehouse building at 484 Glover Street, Marietta, Georgia, tax parcel number 170-359-00040 for $2,275,000 plus ancillary cost, including inspection fees, closing cost, and et cetera.
Thank you. Need a second? Mr. Howard, any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Next is our action agenda, and items 1 through 4 are all on consent. We come to number 5, without objection, they're approved. Number 5, Mr. Adams.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, members of the board, ask Mr. Adams to bring the agenda item number 5.
Thank you, sir. Number 5, recommendation for approval to award a contract for the Cobb Career Academy. As discussed in detail during our prior meeting, in accordance with SPLOST 4, the Cobb Career Academy is scheduled as a new facility. Awarding the contract at this time will allow the project to remain on schedule with a substantial completion date of May 2020. We had 5 proposals. We're recommending that the award of the contract go to Carroll Daniel Construction Company out of Gainesville, Georgia, in the amount of $14.497 million as budgeted in SPLOST 4. And awarding the contract at this time would allow us to execute it and begin work on the project immediately.
Need a motion? Mr. Howard?
All right, thank you very much. It's just a great pleasure to be able to make this motion for the approval of the award, the contract for the Cobb Career Academy located at Osborne High School as presented.
Need a second, Mr. Scamahorn? Any discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll try to be brief this time. I was a bit wordy. Okay, I said I'd try to be brief. I'd just like to ask a couple questions. Mr. Adams, for my edification, if not others, what is the percentage of SPLOST 5 that's going into South Cobb?
It's significant. There's roughly a $250 million with a B worth of construction in broadly defined South Cobb and Smyrna. I could get you a percentage, but it's a significant figure.
Well, and on SPLOST 5, our wish list is for $750 million, give or take.
797.
And we'll be lucky to get 600 of that probably. Would you agree, 650?
I think we'll be a little better than that. The projections were increased by the board by 10%. So I believe the original projections were somewhere in the neighborhood of 720.
So would you object if 250 billion, if I said that was somewhere around 25% at least going into South Cobb?
I'd have to get back to you on the exact percentage, but there is a significant investment in SPLOST 5 in South Cobb and Smyrna, broadly defined, and has been explained in the past. That's because where the growth is cyclically.
Yeah. Well, my math, without trying to do it, of course, anything over 10, I get in trouble. But 250 of 700 billion, that's a significant amount. You'd agree to that, wouldn't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What in SPLOST, and I don't expect you to remember all of these off the top of your head unless you happen to have a list or better memory than me. What projects were in SPLOST 3 and 4 in South Cobb?
I'd have to get back to you on that to give you a comprehensive
Well, we could say Smyrna Elementary for one, right?
Sure.
Didn't we just, pardon? Either. Mableton, right? I think also, is Campbell, the gym, was that in 4 or 5?
I can't recall which one that is off the top.
Okay. Would you mind? 4? Okay. My point being is we on the board are very sensitive to the needs of our county. In the last 6 years, please, the staff would disagree with me or the superintendent, South Cobb has been an emphasis of ours. It's slow in coming because we have to wait on the revenues and the needs of the county. You agreed with that?
One of the advantages of SPLOST is it's pay-as-you-go. But one of the limitations of SPLOST is that it's pay as you go. You can't spend money you haven't collected.
Correct. So, and we even try to offset that with the wise investment and budgeting that our finance department does also. What do you have an opinion, and I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, but do you have an opinion why the erroneous perception that we ignore the South Cobb? Do you
I think the best evidence of our commitment to the good folks of South Cobb came by the superintendent's board fulfilling their very first promise with Harmony Leland. And then you need look no further than Osborne High School and the prior construction initiated at Osborne High School, the ongoing rebuild for $48 million. When combined with this, I think pretty clearly demonstrates our commitment to South Cobb.
And, well, I'm glad you brought that up, Harmony Leland. We even went out a little bit on the limb and spent general funds to purchase that property for Harmony Leland, did we not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, the other, we all have needs. In fact, I think it was either you, Mr. Adams, that told me we have $2 billion worth of needs, maybe another $1 billion worth of wants, and we want a Mercedes-Benz, we're driving a Chevy, correct?
I may have said that to you, Mr. Scamhorn. I'm concerned that you recall it that well, but I believe you're accurate.
Okay. Having said that, let me just state for the record, you know, North Cobb High School, 3,000 plus or minus a few students. I still have 1959 front facade on part of my school. What you also can't see is the majority of my classrooms, or at least half of them, are 1959. But you know what? I'm not squawking about it because we're trying to take care of them. They're functional. And other parts of the county has more needs. Lewis Elementary, probably early 60s. Baker Elementary, early 60s, maybe late 59. Autry Middle School was built around the same time as North Cobb. So we do the best we can, in my humble opinion, to look at the county based on needs and what our limited income has for that particular period, this time 5 years at a time. Do you agree with that?
I would, and I would quote Brad Wheeler, who said that we give our students the best education we can afford. It's the same thing with SPLOST. I would love to be able to spend $2 billion, but I don't have a money tree, so we do the very best we can with limited resources.
And I would love for my area, Northwest Cobb, to have all new elementary schools, all new middle schools. Fortunate because of population growth. 20 years ago, we built Kennesaw Mountain. Kell's in Mr. Chastain's area, but the population went that way. And now we've been looking the last 5 years or more at the Smyrna, South Cobb area, trying to keep up with it. Not get ahead of it, just trying to keep up with it. So I get a little discouraged, not angry, but just discouraged and disappointment that our staff and the board, we're busting our ears, let me say it that way, to do the best we can as the county as the whole. Who has the greatest need? What's the demographics? Whatever. Can we do better? That's open for debate, I guess. But I think we do a pretty good job. The other thing that I wanted to reemphasize, I did during our work session earlier this afternoon. When we proposed a career academy in South Cobb, I was part of that. In fact, on SPLOST 4, when we tried to pull it together, there was 2 career academies slated to be built in the county. They were supposed to be county facilities, not school facilities. They just happened to be more economical if we could put them adjacent to another school. The one I wanted to see is one to go in, again, I admit my bias, to Kennesaw Mountain High School. I'd love to have the one we're building at Osborne at Kennesaw Mountain. But we as a board at the time saw a greater need at the Osborne area rather than in the Kennesaw Mountain area. Also, our limited funds that we projected at the time and the need of our students in that area. That drove that. Nothing else. No prejudice, no special treatment, whatever. Do you agree with that? Best you recollect?
Yes, I think everybody throughout this entire process has always made good faith decisions to allocate, unfortunately, a finite amount of resources.
So at some point, there was either misinformation or erroneous information, or a rumor got started that this county facility located coincidentally next to the Osborne campus, we got opportunity to spend money we hadn't planned on to get that church to make the campus bigger. So it just happens to be next to Osborne High School. Correct?
Not sure I understand the question.
Well, the Career Academy is to be at least for a while, a county facility, not a high school facility. Do you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We also agree that it's something brand new, I think, and that we'll have to expand and transition and learn, hopefully by minor mistakes, as we grow that facility. Is that correct?
Yes, and you'll note we're not trying to adopt someone else's model or do it in a way that someone's telling us necessarily to do it. We're doing what we think is the best way to do it in Cobb County for the students of Cobb County.
Okay. And last is and again, I'm trying not to repeat everything I said at the whatever, but just to let folks that have to work and that couldn't listen to the afternoon meeting. Rather than, asking questions, I'll just say, we have 6 out of 17 high schools, 6 of them have magnet programs, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Of the 6, 3 of them are in South Cobb. 3 of them. So I don't know how we are avoiding or neglecting South Cobb when 3 of only 6 are in South Cobb. The other 3, one's at North Cobb, one's at Kennesaw Mountain and Central Cobb, and the other one's at Wheeler. Okay? So now other programs, other high schools have what they may call academies or something, but that's really a local thing. So my point is not to start an argument or to hurt people's feelings, is just to set the record straight. And I'll have to check my calendar, but I intend to be at that Pebblebrook Town Hall meeting, and I would have been at others had I known about them and been invited. But I don't go to other folks' homes that I'm not invited. So we'll leave it at that. I'll yield back, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Skimhorn. Any more discussion? Mr. Howard?
I'm going to say a little prayer in my head before I respond. Because but Jesus loves me and he loves you. And on those grounds, we can have a civil conversation. There was an amazing presentation today. Jennifer Lawson stood up today, and we had an hour-long conversation about an incredible opportunity coming to this county called the Cobb Career Academy, which happened to be at Osborne. And all the details to help clear up all of the rumors out there really came out. A lot of questions were answered. We had a lot to celebrate. I am a little disheartened that there are individuals who want to spend more time talking about a second career academy than what's actually about to happen in the fall of 2020, but that's another story. But there's so much to celebrate among this team. And I think that we should stop and acknowledge how wonderful our team worked hard to do it the right way. Not the fast way, it wasn't fast, but it was right. And I'm really excited about it, and I appreciate John Adams. I appreciate the whole team for making that happen. This is a great win for the entire county, We probably shouldn't get in a tit for tat match on who got what when, because if anyone wants to really play that game, you lose. And we probably shouldn't do that in public. We should probably have a conversation separately about that. But people feel the way they feel for a reason. There's a reason, and we are brought here by taxpayers, by voters. We're trying to do the job to make sure that our kids are winning. Now, guess what? We're not all going to agree. We're going to have strong opinions, and you have strong opinions, and so do I. But your comments come across very paternalistic, kind of preachy, pretty much offensive. And I'm going to say something now because that's not okay. And again, I'll still be friends with you. I love you. I'll give you a big hug after this, but it's not okay. And you don't realize how not okay it is. And that's okay. We have 4 years to work together. But at the end of the day, we have one team, one goal, student success. Sometimes the conversations are going to be hard. And I'm okay for it. I'm here for it. Because we can work together to get things done. That's how you find solutions. And guess what? There was a problem. And the solution was to put a career academy for various reasons, objective reasons, at Osborne. That's the solution. Let's get behind the solution instead of deviating, directing, misdirecting, being defensive, and having, why are people making comments in public? That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to advocate for where they are. We're all doing what we're supposed to. We're trying very hard. So I appreciate everybody here on the board. It is Board Appreciation Week. I appreciate you. I appreciate the citizens who are here. I appreciate the staff who is here. But I have to make sure I said that on record because it's kind of ridiculous that it kind of went that direction. This should be a positive day. And I'm not going to go back and forth, and I know you want to have the last word, and that's fine. And we can talk about it afterwards. So say whatever you have to say. But just know that I'm done after this. But just know that I'm ready to work together. I'm ready to focus on what's best for the entire county, not trying to go back and forth on every single point, because we'll be here all night. But I just appreciate you giving me a few minutes to say my piece. I'm excited about the program. I'm excited about everything that's going on. Let's continue to do the work for these kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Mr. Scammerhorn.
Thank you. Point of personal privilege, since that was directed at me. Yes, we can. And yes, we all love the county. But what you're coming across is preaching to me, and I accept it, okay? And I appreciate you letting me get the last word, although I don't need it. But what I'm referring to is not to you or the board members. For a year now, I mean, it's like a water torture, one drip at a time on the forehead. And at some point, we need to correct the facts. And I'm all ears. If you don't care for my style, my humble apologies. But I don't know how to get the facts across except to say them. So, and as far as emphasis on the second career academy, it's called vision and strategy. Those students aren't going to want to go from Walton indefinitely to Osborne for the sheer traffic and the distance. So we need to be thinking about we already got the first one started, and to your point, it's outstanding, very good. We need to make it the best. But we also need to be looking past that one and on to the next one. And I will take your challenge if you want to sit down sometime as to the amount of projects and money that's spent anywhere in the county. Okay? So thank you, Mr. Chair. I yield back.
Thank you, gentlemen. That would conclude that at this point. Mr. Rams, I've got a question for you concerning this. It's a little different. If we had this company is building, if we had prior experience with them before, is this their first project in Cobb, or have they had a track record with
No,
us?
they did Clarkdale, they did Smyrna, I believe the Harrison High School gym and theater, and then most recently, the ongoing rebuild of Osborne. So we have a great deal of work from them in the past. They've done an excellent job, and they're literally right next door already. We're doing the work adjacent.
I was going to say that Smyrna Elementary is a nice school. Okay, so we've had a motion, we had a second, we had discussion, and we voted. We voted on this one yet? Okay, we're going to vote then. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. And it brings us to board member comments. excuse me, 6-0. Mr. Chastain is not with us. Mr. Chastain was ill tonight and had to leave early. We'll start with board member comments. Ms. Davis.
Thank you to all the post-6 schools and the district personnel for your messages of appreciation this week. And thank you to everyone who came and spoke today. Sometimes what we hear, it's not positive. And I know there's many other things you could be doing. So I know that it's important to you and it should be important to us, the issues that you brought today. Since the last board meeting, I've had the pleasure of attending a Stronger Together meeting where staff, parents, students, and community members discuss the experience of students of color within the district. And there are added layers of challenges for many of these students, even if they are, by most accounts, doing well in school. And it's important that we provide them with opportunities to share their voice and then really listen to what they have to say when they do. I also sat in on the Senate session where SB 173 was discussed, also known as the voucher bill, and I cannot stress enough the importance of those of us who work in public schools, send our kids to public schools, just live near a public school to learn about bills like this and how it can potentially impact our schools and then what we can do about it. After a fantastic visit to Soap Creek for Career Day, where a couple of the students were very intrigued by the idea that I was the only girl on the school board, I popped into a reading training that was taking place, and one of the great concepts that was discussed is the idea of the science behind reading. And it's something that I'd heard before where teachers don't really learn the science, and it alludes to some research that's been done by scientists around the world that shows reading is not innate. Our brains are not wired to do so, and that making the connection between written text and speech sounds is vital for our students to become not just readers, but great readers. I hope everyone has a safe and restful spring break. We are also wishing speedy recovery to our student Malik at Wheeler, who was injured recently. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Mr. Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. So it's March, and March is Women's History Month. And so I think it's good just to stop and just think about that for a second. And you mentioned being the only girl, quote unquote. Sharice, I'm thankful for you. You make me a better person. I'm glad I get to sit by you every month. I know it's just been a couple of months in, but I look forward to this ride together. The National Women's History Museum had an incredible report, so Google it when you get a chance. It's called the Report of the Status of Women in U.S. Social Studies Standards. And they looked at every single state. They looked at all the different standards and how women were brought up in social studies. And they had some takeaways. And one was that they found that women's topics were often an addendum to the main storyline or simply just a list of accomplishments rather than acknowledging women's full stories with context. This group is also working with educational leaders across the country to work on materials to support teachers and students. That's being developed as we speak, and I'm just saying that publicly so perhaps Cobb County can play some role in how we can, again, lead. That's what we do here, right? So I think we can take the lead on making sure that women's history is properly taught in our schools, and we can take the lead here in Cobb County. So thank you so much, and I have so much more to say, but I'll try to keep it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Mr. Banks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to say thank you to all the schools in Post 5, rather. This week has been the Board Member Appreciation Week, but let me just say as a board member, I appreciate every employee in Cobb County for what they do and how they support not only the administrators, but they support the board. And they let us know it, and they are appreciated. As the superintendent said, we've got the best school system, but there's a reason why we have the best school system, and it's the people that make the school system. I also want to say thank you to East Valley for inviting me to their Cinderella presentation last night, and earlier, a couple of weeks ago, Pope High School's drama club put on a fantastic presentation. So I think that's, you know, other than we've already had the Teach Across America. It was a long day. It was 6 schools. Read across. What did I say?
Read, teach. It's all connected.
You know what I meant.
Exactly.
But anyway, I went to 6 schools, and one of them had to do 2 classes. So it was one book short, but I understand I'm gonna get that book. So, but it was fun. The kids really, even though they've already read the book and somebody's read the book to them, it's a unique experience, and I do something a little bit different maybe from what everybody else does. But I sign that book, and I have every student in that class sign that book and put it in the library. And I tell them, 20 years from now, you may visit, say, East Valley, and you can go to the library and pull that book up, and you'll see your name there, and maybe you'll remember that I was in that little class that a board member who doesn't exist anymore came and read to you. So, but it's a fun, you know, the kids, the thing about elementary students, they're so lovable. I mean, they love not only their teacher, they're just lovable, and it's just it's fun just to watch them, how they interact with each other, and how they look at older people, and kind of like an amazement, you know, what's he doing here and so forth. But it's fun. The schools are great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Banks. Mr. Scammahorn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I'd like to thank all the schools and the county staff that have given us recognition, appreciation, and gifts. They're much appreciated, and I'm very flattered that those that work very hard to educate our children think of us, and so thank you very much. Second of all, I'd like to say there's just too many to read, and it's too late, but year to date, we have lost 27 officers nationwide in the line of duty. Last year, we lost 150. Please keep their families and their friends in your prayers. Pray for those that are still protecting us, or the fire department, or men and women in blue. They have to go into danger when most of us, if not all of us, are running from danger. So think of them. If you see one going into McDonald's or somewhere, treat them to lunch. You'll be surprised at how appreciative that he or she will be. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Scammahorn. Mr. Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Chair. I will say that I will echo the sentiments of my fellow board members. I'm always grateful and humbled anytime someone takes the time to express gratitude for having the pleasure and privilege of being on the school board, and anyone that's serving in the capacity of a school board member. Also want to salute them, as well as give, there are 2 schools in particular who a lot of, multiple schools express gratitude and thanks as it relates to my particular post, and I'm grateful for that. But Compton Elementary and Bryan Elementary, I really appreciate. Don't think that it's lost on me, or that I do not give it serious thought, that you took the extra time to express. They say love is a verb, so I certainly appreciate that. And also want to, as I said, the board all school board members who do this job. I grew up, Chris, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and I really want to commend the school board members who call it like they see it. You know what I mean? Because, and the reason I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, in the 80s and watch this, in the 80s and the 90s, in hip hop, they used to have this thing called studio gangsters. And see, a studio gangster was somebody who, hey, he was the baddest thing when he was in that studio.
Why you pat me on that?
But no, I'm just talking to you. I'm just talking to you. But when he stepped outside the studio, he wasn't about that. He was not about all that he was saying in the studio. And I'm saying that to say this: I salute all board members who keep it, who honest all the time. You know, it's easy to be Billy bad when it's an issue you're comfortable with, when everybody's gonna say this to you, or it's within your domain. But I'm saluting all board members who say, you know what, I'm gonna call it like I said, regardless of who said, why they said it, or how the political winds might blow. So great salute to those who do that. And again, thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Acting Chair.
Did you know who Dick Clark was?
Oh, jeez. That's out of order, Mr. Banks. You'll have to come back later with that one.
Don't do it.
That's next month's trivia. Mr. Ragsdale.
So let me start out by saying specificity. Nah, yeah, I'll never say that word incorrectly again, right? Took me 4 tries a while ago, but I got it out. So, first of all, I want to say thanks to all of the kids that came out. I think we still have 1 left to speak in public comment. I see the teacher there, but we do have 1 kid left. You know, it takes something to get up and do public speaking, and in high school and going to middle school especially, that's something to be commended. And as you guys voted tonight for the Career Academy, I want to give a real shout out to Earl Johnson, who was our last public commenter. Great guy. I don't know him personally, but he's been to public comment before, and he definitely speaks from the heart. He brings it, like you said, Mr. Morgan. He makes it real. So, you know, the one thing that jumped out at me is he was under the impression that the board was considering moving the Career Academy from Osborne. So, and he was just bringing the message. So, it's at Osborne. You guys approved it. Ground will be broken very quickly. As Mr. Adams already alluded to, it's the same construction company that's already at Osborne. So they can just double their staff and work 24/7 and keep it going. So we're real excited about what that will bring. And I don't know if I'm stealing your thunder, Mr. Vice Chair, but since Mr. Chastain was not here, I was going to give a shout out to Kel, who provided dinner tonight. Number 1, thank you for being patient and waiting. That's the best macaroni and cheese I think I've ever had.
Best greens.
Man, that was awesome. I'm not going down the turnip green route, man. I was made to eat those as a kid. I don't like them today. If George Bush can say he don't like broccoli, I can say I don't like turnip greens. So, you got me off track, man. Way to go. So, a shout out to Kel, because number 1, they had it. It was still popping hot when we got back there, and we were a little bit late, about 1 hour and 15 late. So I appreciate the patience. I want to give a true shout out to Jackie Valentine. She is the teacher of Human Resources Principles class at South Cobb High School. She invited me about 4 years ago to come out. First time she ever invited guest speakers to come to her class, and I've been going ever since. That is one of the true, really just enjoyments that I look forward to every year. It ranks up there with graduations, because the kids, you know, they ask their questions that, you know, they formulated in class, and then we get past those, and then we get to the real questions, which is always cool. I do try to give them I will tell you what I did. I said, who in here, when you get out of high school and go to work, wants to be a millionaire? Everybody raised their hand, right? Next question I followed up with, who in here thinks you can do that by being a teacher? Nobody raised their hand. So I gave the talk about teacher retirement system and what that equates to. And yeah, 35 years away from now is a long time, but you know, we do recruitment every chance we get. But I totally enjoy that. I always look forward to it. I will also give a shout out to my wife, Julie. She was recognized at the International Women's Luncheon that Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan put on. She was given that award as being, and obviously, I married up, so she's a tremendous advocate for education and technology, and couldn't be more proud of her. So we'll give her a shout out for that. Along the same lines as Mr. Banks was talking about, I got to participate in the Read Across America. I read the same book. I say this every year. I'm going to come close to memorizing it. It's Green Eggs and Ham. I was able to read it without glasses, which was a concern as I'm getting on up in age and my arms have gotten shorter. And so, but I beat you, Mr. Banks. They had 3 classes lined up for me. And I went thinking it was one. Yeah, exactly. No, not at one time. They were lined up. So, but that was awesome. Shallowford Falls, and then I did a tour with Donna and the great things going on there. And it's just it's an awesome school. And I'll tell you, we talked about special ed earlier. They house the hearing impaired unit at Shallowford Falls, and I'll tell you, man, it's that takes a special person, and we've got them in our special ed department. So kudos to those teachers. I hope everybody has a restful and safe spring break. It's the last stretch before graduation. And I'm not going to say how long it is because it'll panic some people. But I will give another shout out too, because at South Cobb, Clint, principal there, he said that he had some meetings with the seniors that some of them were struggling in some classes and needed the talking to, and that's just awesome that he does that. And by talking to, it's semi-threatening. Get it in gear. Graduation's coming up, and you do want to walk across the stage. So. Doing an awesome job at South Cobb. Give a shout out to him. And again, I just always enjoy going out to Miss Valentine's class. And last but certainly not least, I will reiterate again, Board Member Appreciation Week. I appreciate each and every one of you. I really appreciate the fact that we can have spirited debate. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we all agree, sometimes we disagree. But at the end of the day, we walk away still friends, and I appreciate each and every one of you. And again, that one team, it starts with us. A lot of us have been in places when that's not the case, and it does roll into every employee's environment. So it does matter. And I will close by saying I went to the funeral home for a childhood best friend, and his dad passed away. And as I was there, saw a lot of people that went to church with as a kid and that kind of thing, and saw a lot of my teachers from high school. And our teachers are the greatest teachers in the world, and we never need to forget the impact that you have on kids, because as the kids grow up and go out into the world of work, there are teachers that have a significant impact, and it's always great to remember that there's no other industry in which you can shape the future and have the impact as we can in education. So greatly appreciate all the teachers, greatly appreciate all the employees, and wish everybody a happy and safe spring break. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Ragsdale. I don't mean to keep everybody late. I've got a lot of things on the plate that I think need to be recognized, but I'll start with the first one. Attended McEachern High School breakfast for the foreign exchange program. Mr. Ragsdale was there. I got to meet the French Consulate General. Threw a little French at him. Bonjour, monsieur. And this is from around here. Okay. Where are you from? But this is a really great program for the kids at McEachern and the French students, and to see the way it went down and the experience for all of them, it's an outstanding program that is offered there. Second, I'd like to thank Still and Varner Elementary for having me read across America with them. That's always a pleasure. One of the fun things to do on at this time to go back and talk to the kids and read to them. It's a real pleasure for a board member. Next one is the McEachern boys basketball team, undefeated state champions in basketball. Got a chance to watch them and their run, and it was truly a team effort. They've got some outstanding players, but when it came down in that last game, several of the kids came off the bench and had to play, and they did. And they're to be congratulated. That's something to the largest classification in the state to go undefeated is outstanding. Had the opportunity also to go to the Kiwanis Star Teacher, Star Student Banquet, and they recognized the star teachers from all the schools in Cobb and of course our Cobb County schools and the teachers. And that's a real nice thing too that they do for the kids and to recognize them and their teachers. I know you touched on the Kell crew. I'm going to try to get the names from, this is Mr. Chastain's school, but Chef Mark Mayer, and the students are Leilani Angiano, Sean Boer, Austin Martin, William Mack, Aisha Davis, Alex Mueller, Brandon Galloway, Madeline Polsinelli, Jane L. Jones, Diago Rolito, Katrina Mack, Valerie Sonicson, Sydney Starks, Melanie Cruz, Sarah Cruz, and Aaron Rivers. Like I said, I'm going to second what she said about the dinner tonight. It was outstanding, and that's a nice little thing that the kids do from the different schools that come in, and we all appreciate that. I think I'm speaking for everybody on the board there. And I'd like to close, like a lot of my colleagues, this School Board Appreciation Week, the post-7 schools, the students, the staff, the central office. I mean, keep rolling on with this stuff. It's been wonderful. I've got my library here to go read. I read all these. These are really something to see. Some of the stuff that these kids write, the students to you, they're pretty outstanding stuff. And to all of my colleagues, I appreciate each one of you and what you've done to contribute to make our school system the #1 in the state. And with that, if there's no objections, we are adjourned.
Yep.